Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new lesson. This is Half Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. I do hope you are doing well. In our previous lesson, we look at the commutative and the closure property. In this lesson, we are looking at the associative and distributive property, and then we'll solve some 3 questions, and I'll give you some exercises for you to try on your own. So without much ado, let's quickly look at what the associative property is. Now, all the associative property is saying is that when you are adding or multiplying 3 or more numbers, the way you group the numbers does not change the final sum or product, but just make sure the order must remain the same. So mathematically, what does this actually mean? All this rule is saying is that for addition, for instance, if I have A, then plus a B plus C, and then let me just write that here as well. So how I want to group it, if I want to work A plus B first, after which I add to my C, it is the same as working B plus C first and then adding your A to it. You see, so far as the order remains the same, it doesn't change the final sum or product. Okay, so for an example, let's take 3 plus 4 and then plus a 5. And let's compare it to another 3 plus 4 plus 5. Now, if I'm to work this first, we would see what the answer would be. And then if I'm to also work this first, we'd also see what answer we are going to get. So for the first one, we have 4 plus 3. 4 plus 3 gives us a 7. So we have our 7 plus 5. On the other hand, over here, we actually have a 3 plus 9. Now, adding further, we have 7 plus 5, which gives us a 12. And over here too, we have 3 plus 9, which also gives us a 12. So you see, irrespective of the one we choose to work first, our answer remains the same. And the order, that is A plus B plus C, which is the same as what we have over here, didn't change. But yes, still we're able to arrive at our desired answer. Let's try that of multiplication and see. So if we have A times B, then times C. And for this case, let's choose to evaluate this first one first. And then A times B times C. So are they the same? Let's take an example and see. If we have 2 times your 3 and then times your 4, and choose to evaluate 2 times 3 first. 2 times 3 gives us a 6, then 6 times 4. So our 6 times 4 gives us a 24. Let's then see if changing where the bracket is changes the answer as well. So we have 2 times 3 times 4, and this time we want to evaluate 3 times 4 first. 3 times 4 gives us a 12, in which case we have a 2 times your 12. 2 times 12 gives us a 24. So as you can see, though we changed where our bracket appeared, it did not change our answer. We still had the same answer. Now, this rule does not hold for subtraction or division. It does not hold for subtraction or division. For instance, if we take 10 minus 5 and then minus 2. First of all, let's choose to work 10 minus 5 first. So 10 minus 5 gives us a 5. So 5 minus 2 gives us what? A 3. Now, if another person thinks associative still works here, and then instead of working the first two, it is worked as 10 minus 5 minus 2 with your bracket on the next or the two numbers, that is 5 and then negative 2. You're going to get 10 minus 5 minus 2 gives us a 3, and 10 minus 3 gives us what? A 7. Now you realize that they are not equal. They are not equal. Hence, associative property does not hold for what? Subtraction. What then of division? That is left for you to prove. But you should know that it does not hold. So just as I did for subtraction, you can also do the same for what? Division. Now let's look at the distributive property. Now the distributive property, on the other hand, as you can see on your screen, states that when you are multiplying a single term by two or more terms inside the parenthesis, it is the same as multiplying the single term by each term inside and then combining the product. What does this even mean? So the rule here mathematically is, if you have A into bracket B plus C, all we want you to do is multiply A by B and multiply it also by C. So that you have A, B, then A, C. Now the sign you have in between is the same sign you are coming to put in the middle here. You see, it works for subtraction as well. So if you have A, then into bracket your B minus C, A multiplies B, and then A multiplies C. It is distributing over. You see, that is why we call it the distributive. So minus A, C. So as an example, if we have the number, let's say 5 into bracket X and then plus 3, it is equal to, so you take your 5, then multiply it by X, take the 5 and also multiply it by your 3. So that we have 5 times X, not forgetting your sign. So plus 5 times what? Your 3. You see, and if you have to evaluate further, we have 5x, then plus 15. As simple as that. So the most frequent used property in algebra for expanding expressions and then simplifying calculations is the distributive property. We use it in algebra to what? Simplify and then expand and what have you. With all these said, let's look at some questions, just 3 of them, to apply the knowledge we have gained. Now, for our first question here, it says we have to state the property that allows us to change the expression 5 into bracket 4 plus x to 20 plus 5. So it has been changed towards 20 plus 5x. Now, if you look at it carefully, let's analyze what has happened. So you realize that the 5 has been multiplied by the 4 to give us what? This 20 over here. So this operation gave us the 20. And the 5 has also been multiplied by the x to give us what? 5x. What operation does that? This is a distributive property. So we just go forward and then say the operation used, or this is the what? The distributive property. And that is all. Very simple and straightforward. Okay, so the next one says we have to use the associative property to easily calculate 12 plus into bracket 88 plus 53. Now, how do we use the associative property? What we want to evaluate is a 12 plus into bracket your 88, then plus 53. Now, associative property is all about your groupings. You see, so trying to add 53 to 88, you might think is a little bit hard, okay? But then if we regroup using our associative property and we rewrite what we have here as 12 plus 88, then plus 53, and we rather bring the bracket on the 12 and then 88, we know what that will give us. So 12 plus 88 gives us 100. So we now simply have just 100 plus a 53, and that is much easier to solve, which gives us a 153. As simple as that. So you see how we can apply these properties to easily perform operations. Let's solve one last example. So for our last question here, all it asks us to do is to use the distributive property to expand and simplify the expression. And what is the expression? Negative 2 into brackets 3x then minus 4. The distributive property, what does it do? It just says you should multiply the first term by this you have here and then also distribute it over what? The second one. So doing our distribution, we would now have what? A negative 2 multiplying a 3x. You see? Then, not forgetting our symbol. So we have minus, then once again, a negative 2 multiplying a 4. You see? So there's the negative 2 multiplying this 4 over here. So negative 2 times 3 gives us a negative 6x. Then we have minus, so negative 2 times 4 gives us what? A negative 8. The rest is what? Your simple simplification. So negative 6x. Then there are two negatives here. We know if there are two negatives, it becomes a positive. So plus 8. And that ends our question. That is our solution. All right. So basically, in this lesson, we have looked at what the associative property is and what the distributive property also is. I do hope that the explanations were simple and then clear, and hence you have understood what these two are. The examples were also very simple and clear. If this is your first time on this channel, let's have Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. You can always choose to subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release the next video, you'll be notified as well. So as usual, I'll leave you with some questions just to test your understanding. On your screen are 4 questions. The first one, it says which property is shown, as you can see. Then the next one says use the distributive property to solve what you have there mentally. Now expand and simplify. This involves the distributive property as well. And then the associative property holds true for division. Is that true? Remember, I said that earlier on in the lesson. I do hope these are enough to enhance your understanding. See you in our next video, and then bye for now. Stay safe.